I don't like this narrative that's being pushed, especially in men's mental health, that people are depressed because they don't talk. I don't buy into that narrative at all.
So what's your belief around it?
So my belief, people, it's just pushed that I think talking's great, right? But it doesn't cook fucking rice.
Oh, I like that phrase. Yeah, I've heard that a few times.
Bruce Lee, I think, talking doesn't cook rice. So talking could be the thing that makes you feel a little bit better. It could give you because what helped me at the time, it doesn't really now, but when when I got diagnosed bipolar, I was like, actually, that explains a lot. But I was determined that it wasn't become a label.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not bipolar. I don't have it. I mean, I've never taken meds for it since 2018. So I'm like, am I still bipolar? Am I? Do I still have it? I don't know.
Or is it just your personality?
Is it just, I don't know what it is. So, but I think that this narrative of just talk about it, and it that'll make it better. I don't think it's a thing. Like, so for example, if you talk about it and continue doing the same shit that led you there, you just fucking wasted a load of gas.
So what should people do? What's the answer?
Well, they've got to. I think part of them's got to take responsibility for where they're at. And again, this might be different for other people. I don't know, but I didn't end up on the cliff by accident. It wasn't a coincidence. It was a fucking consequence of my habits, my habitual thinking. So it is something to do with this. My habitual actions, the way that I treat my body, the things that I surrounded myself, what my palate was like. So palate's like what you watch, what you read, what you listen to, who you listen to, what's in your environment.
Yeah.
So my palate was all over the place. So have a look at that for a start. So you see your consumption. That was what I had to do, and then obviously you got to start looking at your habits and changing them. I think one of the fastest things you can do to change your life is, you mentioned it at the start, is to change your peer group a little bit.
Yeah.
Get around people that are excited about the future. I think that's I find that intoxicating. Being around people that are more interested in talking about the future than talking about someone else's past.
Yep.
That's most people.
Do you not
get
think
around,
that
get on the tables where they're not talking shit about other people. They're talking about their future.
But do you not think you have to talk about the past because that fuels the future?
Sometimes.
So using it to fuel.
Sometimes. I mean, I did a video about Gary Vee the other day, and I like some of Gary Vee stuff. But he had this quote which was, "Stop looking backwards, it fucks with your neck." I'm like, well, actually, I find looking backwards very useful.
Yeah.
If it's done skillfully. So looking backwards skillfully would be, okay, well, what's gone well? What's worked for me? What progress have I made? What have I achieved? Who have I impacted?
Well, because if we don't look back, we're not. Well, how do we know what's working and what isn't?
Well, that's where confidence comes from.
Yeah.
Also, confidence comes after, not before.
Yeah.
You get self-belief from benchmarks, and measuring backwards usefully can be useful. But also, I mean, I heard Dr. John say this possibly, which is anything in my past that I can't say thank you for will keep running my life until I can. So if I'm looking back skillfully, this is part of the reason why I don't like a lot of therapy and counselling, because you just talk about the past and don't change anything.
But it stops there just talking about the past.
Yeah, you don't change the frame that you've got it in. You don't change the meaning that you're attaching to it. You just keep talking about it.
Or the narrative, because sometimes we remember things in a different way than they actually happened.
50% of your memories apparently are untrue.
50%?
50% of your memories are made up. Think about what's a memory. It's your imagination. Even thinking about your future, your imagination.
That's true.
So 50% of your memories apparently in research has been proven to be untrue.
So it's that.
So 50% of the thing that happened to you, 50% of it didn't actually happen.
So like part of it happened, but we've made this scenario around it.
Peter Sage, who I was coaching with in 2020, Peter's fucking amazing. And he says that the past is just the past, with your imagination filling in the gaps. And this is my favourite part, adding all of the meaning.
Ooh.
So it's sometimes not the thing that's the problem, it's the meaning you've attached to it.
Absolutely.
Here's why they did that. That was my fault. This was this. If you can change the meaning, then this thing that happened takes on a whole new fucking life.
Yeah. Well,
that's why I can look back and say, actually, I'm really glad that happened. Anything, even me falling out with people, hurting people, getting arrested, fighting, I can look back and think, actually, that was good for me, but also at some point, that's, do you know what I mean? We can look back at a lot of things. You think, if you've ever had your heart broken or been cheated on, at the time it was heartbreaking, but you look back on it and you think, fuck me, I'm glad that happened.
Yeah, it's true.
So I think the faster you can do that, the more you become unfuckable.
Yeah, it's how far away from it you are as well.
Yes.
And some people will dwell on it forevermore. Yeah.
Stay in the weeds.
But then is there a risk of...
You stay a victim to it.
Is there a risk the other side, though, where you go, oh, it didn't affect me, fuck it, move on? Is there a risk of not letting it?
I don't think there is.
No?
No, I don't think there is. I don't see any point in rehashing something that I can't change anyway.
But then we have to visit it to see where our
and what we've got to think about, I think, Tony, is what I do with these things is that this used to crush me. I'd be like, why don't I feel positive about that? But then I was like, actually, I'm not trying to feel positive about something that was shit. I'm trying to just get a bit more balance. I'm trying to get neutral about it.
Yeah.
You think about that. If there's no negative without a positive, that doesn't mean the positives are going to outweigh the negatives and everything. So I just try to find the bit in the middle.
Yeah.
I worked with a lady, Mark. I remember 2015, I worked with a lady called Byron Katie. She has a concept called loving what is. And loving what is, think about love. What's love? It's positive and negative. You can't love anything that you don't know both sides of. That's infatuation. If it's just positive, that's infatuation. If it's just negative, that's resent. And they're both skewed. So you think about your husband, Mark. Have I got that right? Chris?
No, sorry, Chris, I'm not.
Mark's over there.
Sorry, we're not
Mark's
married.
husband's called Mark. But you think about someone that you love, you could point out minimum 10 things that gets on your tits about him.
Oh, absolutely. And he could do the same with me.
But you love him
we
anyway.
know each other.
But you love him anyway.
Yeah. I do. I adore him.
Do you know what I mean? Like, you love...
It's true.
The people that you love the most will often have a lot of negative traits, things that
my
irritate
kids,
about
but
you.
there's things that annoy the life out of me, and vice versa.
Yeah.
I know they love
It's
me,
mad,
but
isn't it? And we've all met someone that you were infatuated with. A girl that I was infatuated with, then she farted. And I was like, ooh. Do you know what I mean? And then she did something that I didn't really like. And then I'm like, actually, I was infatuated with that. And then
that just made it real.
Yeah. And when you fall in love with somebody, you accept all of the goods and all of the bads and all of the negatives and all the positives and all the upsides and all the downsides. Do you know all of that?
Comes back to the Dr. John D. Martini.
That's exactly where I learned it from.
Yeah. Challenge.
Yeah. Homeostasis.
Equal challenge and opportunity.
Yeah. So it's the same thing with these kind of so-called negative events. I'm just trying to get more balance. I'm trying to get neutral. I'm trying to get to this point of love. And almost so I can be more objective about things. So it's not always about feeling positive. I think, because I remember when I first started getting into the personal development world, I thought I was fucked. I thought there was something wrong with me because I didn't feel positive all the time.
But surely...
I didn't feel positive all the time, therefore, and this happens to a lot of people. Well, I'm not happy, that means I'm broke. No, we're not supposed to feel happy all the time.
Do you know what this reminds me of? Felix Dennis. Have you ever read
the money guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he tells the story in one of his books about how he was always searching for something, because we think, and this comes back to, I suppose, in 2014 when you've perceived to be having everything, is that everyone's perception was, How to Be Rich is the book that he'd written.
Yeah.
And he's talking about how he made money, but then that wasn't enough. He was searching for the next thing, and then he started drinking, and that wasn't enough. And then it was drugs, and then it was prostitutes. And he almost killed himself. And that it took that for him to realise none of that stuff mattered.
Yeah.
And then we remove ourselves from the outcome. And actually, when you remove yourself from the outcome, you're no longer looking for it. No. You find more people fall in love with you and love what you're doing. And you find that you make more
happiness
money.
Is such a fucking... All of these positive emotions, they're often fleeting for a start, but they're impermanent. Emotions aren't supposed to be permanent. I think I've heard this saying, which is, emotions like energy in motion. It moves and it circles all the time.
Yep.
And you can actually... I can feel happy by just thinking about things that make me feel happy. That's not bad.
That's where the past comes in. Though,
you can feel happy, but I can be happy about my future. I can be excited.
Yeah.
So you think about this, like Peter Sage said this to me. He said, happiness is the result of thinking happy thoughts, right? But we don't give ourselves permission to think happy thoughts until the outside world matches our pictures of how we think it should look. So, like, in Felix's case, he's like, when I've got the car, then I'll be happy.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But actually, he wouldn't give himself permission to think these happy thoughts until he had the car. And I've done that.